Hello and welcome back to video classes by Konnur English Medium School. In today's video session, we will be discussing the poem Modern Machinery written by Rudyard Kipling. Rudyard Kipling is the author of the famous fiction work called The Jungle Book. I am sure you have heard about The Jungle Book. Jungle Book was written by Rudyard Kipling, and Rudyard Kipling lived in India. He was a British Indian, well known for short stories and novels. This poem called Modern Machinery, also known as The Secret of Machines Elsewhere, is a poem written by him, and in fact we don't have the entire poem set for your syllabus. In the textbook you don't have the entire poem as written by Rudyard Kipling, but the selected verses, only a few verses or stanzas have been selected. So what is this poem about? The name of the poem doesn't sound like a poem, right? It's Modern Machinery, so it looks like an essay, but it is indeed a poem. So, and a beautiful poem too. In this poem, machines speak about themselves. They tell us something about themselves. Now, can you imagine what could possibly machines tell us if they could talk to us? What could possibly the machines share with us about themselves if they were able to speak? Well, when we read this poem, we will see what are the things that machine can actually speak about themselves with us. So, in today's video session, we will cover the first 12 lines of the poem, right? So that's 3 stanzas or 3 verses. In the first 8 lines, the machines tell us how they are made and how they perform when put to work. So the first 8 lines are going to tell us the origin of machines, how the machines are constructed, how they are built, and how they perform, how they do their job when they are set to work. So let's first read the 8 lines, the first 8 lines, and then let's look at some words, the vocabulary used in those 8 lines, and then we will discuss the meaning of all the 8 lines. Let's start. We were taken from the ore bed and the mine. We were melted in the furnace and the pit. We were cast and wrought and hammered to design. We were cut and filed and tooled and gauged to fit. Some water, coal and oil is all we ask, and 1/1000th of an inch to give us play. And now if you will set us to our task, we will serve you 24 hours a day. So those are our first 8 lines from this poem. So what are some phrases or words there that we need to pay attention to? And we need to understand their meanings so that we can understand the idea that is expressed in these lines. So what are machines telling us? They are talking about ore bed, they are talking about furnace, they are talking about different actions like casting and hammering, cutting and filing. So obviously they are telling us about how they are made, how they are built, right? So these words, ore, bed and mine, what do they mean? They are the sources of raw metal, right? The ores. How the metal is extracted from the ores like iron, aluminum and other metals. So this ore is not yet refined. It's in its raw form, yes. That is why they say, that is where we take our birth. So in the ore bed, in the mines, coal is also used in production of the machines. Yes, coal is needed. Metals are required. So ore, bed and mine are referred to there because of that. So they are sources of metal ores and coal, and these are 2 important industrial materials. Then we have furnace and the pit. Furnace and the pit, the line that says we are melted in the furnace and the pit. So what is a furnace? Furnace is a highly heated oven, right? It's an enclosure in which heat is generated with fire, and it is so intense, the heat is so intense that you can melt metals in that heat. That is what furnace and the pit refers to. This is used for melting metals. And in the third line we have cast and wrought. What is casting? Casting and wrought refers to molding and forming the metals into desired shapes. Right? You first have to melt the metal in the furnace, and then when it is when it acquires a form, flexible form, then you shape it into the designs that you have in your mind. The engineers are there to make the designs for the machines, and then the metallurgy work begins where the metal is liquefied. It is brought into desired shapes. So casting refers to that. We are cast and wrought. Yes. So that is how the machine's origin begin. First we extract ores from the ore bed. Then we heat the metal so that it becomes flexible enough to be bent and shaped into different designs. Then in the next line we have cut and filed and tooled and gauged to fit, right? So cutting and filing and tooling, engaging, they're all actions. There are processes, important processes in metallurgy, in creating shapes and designs with the metals. So when that happens, metals are cut, they are smoothened, they are polished using various tools, of course, and they are measured to precision. See, measurement is very, very important in building machines. A fraction of error, can make the machine unfunctional. They will not function if there is even a small error. The parts will not fit into with each other. They will not fit into the design. They will not fit into each other. So all the pieces of a machine need to be accurately designed and formed, else they will not function. So that's what cutting, filing with tools and gauging refers to. Then we have in the next line, thousandth of an inch. If you divide an inch into equal 1,000 parts, take one part in that is a thousandth of an inch. So that's a very small measured unit, you can say, very small, right? And even that fine measurement is necessary in constructing machines, and with errors can happen in measurement. Like I said, if errors happen, then machines will not work properly. It also means a very small space. I'll tell you how the other meaning is applicable in the poem too. It means a small, it's a very fine unit of measurement, a thousandth of an inch, and it also means a very small space. Then we have set to task. If you set a machine to task, that means you will set to work. You will set it to work. It will start its work. Then we have 4 and 20 hours. Yes, a poetic way of using 24 hours. 4 and 20 hours is nothing but 24 hours. That is the entire day. So the machines are probably telling us here that they work non-stop. They can work non-stop without taking a break. Whereas we as human beings, after certain hours of work, we need to take a break, we need to relax. Yes. Okay, so those are certain words and phrases from the first 8 lines. Now let's look at the rhyming pattern there. So this poem also has a very visible rhyme pattern. Mine and design, whereas pit and fit, they match, they are rhyming words. And we have ask and task, and play and day, they are rhyming pairs as well. Now let's look at the meaning of these 8 lines then. We were taken from the ore bed and the mine, and we were melted in the furnace and the pit. So the way machines are brought into existence is a very rough and tough process. It's a challenging process. So the metal ores are extracted from the ore bed. They are heated, shaped into different designs. Then they are hammered, brought into the desired shapes. They are measured. They are cut and smoothened using different tools. And then some water, coal and oil is all we ask. So once the machine is ready, To do its job, the machine usually requires some form of energy. So that energy can be generated using water or coal or oil. So it could be diesel or petrol or any fuel, for example. So that's all we need. Once we are designed, we are ready to work. And for us, all the energy can be supplied through either water, coal, or oil. That's all we ask. The way the machines are telling us this: some water, coal, and oil is all we ask. They are telling us that we do not ask much from you, but in return we give you so much. The amount of work we do for you is much more than what we ask from you to do that work. So, and 1/1000th of an inch to give us play. So that's where they say 1/1000th of an inch to give us play. To give us play in the sense, to let us work, all we need is some space, small space. Yeah, that's all. And water, coal, or oil, and we will start our job. And now, if you will set us to task, we will serve you 4 and 20 hours a day. So this is how we are made, and once we are ready to work, all we need is some fuel, some energy, and some place for us to sit, and then we begin our work. And once we begin our work, we can work continuously. How? 4 and 20 hours a day, whole day without taking a break. So I hope you understood these 8 lines. Yes, these 8 lines speak about how the machines are made and how they perform, how they start working. Now, shall we go to the next 4 lines then? The next 4 lines tell us the different kinds of jobs that machine can perform. So in today's world, we all depend on machines. Everything depends on machines. Mobile phones, mixer grinders, room heaters, coolers, yes. Everywhere we have machines that are helping us, like Rudyard Kipling says, 4 and 20 hours a day. So in the next 4 lines, Rudyard Kipling uses certain verbs, all verbs of action. These are in fact the kind of work that machines can perform. Let's look at the 4 lines. We can pull and haul and push and lift and drive. So there are 5 verbs, there are 5 action words in that line. We can pull and haul and push and lift and drive. So we can push, we can pull, we can do all sorts of work. We can even drive, for example, vehicles. We can print and plow and weave and heat and light. What else we can do? We can print, we can plow, P-L-O-U-G-H, plow, and weave, W-E-A-V-E, heat and light. We can run, race and swim, fly and dive. We can do that too. What can we do? We can run, race, swim, fly and dive. And we can also see, hear, count, read and write. So how many verbs did we see there in these 5 lines? There are 20 of them. So 20 action words, and all these are actions performed by the machines. The machines can. But it doesn't mean that one machine can do all these things. There are different machines designed to carry out different actions, different jobs, right? So what I want you to do is, I want you to understand the meanings of these words by first referring to a dictionary, and then I want you to write an example for each action. What machine can perform that action? I'm not going to help you with that right now. I want you to do it as your homework, as an assignment. For example, just to give you a tip, weave. Weaving is done by textile machines or looms, yes? And hearing, for example, microphones hear our voices, they record our voices, or they transmit our voices. And writing is done by typewriters, yes? Typewriters and keypads, keyboards. So can you come up with machines that can perform the other actions mentioned here in these 4 lines, like pulling and hauling and pushing and lifting and driving? So see if you can mention at least one machine for each of these actions. If you can think of more, then that would be wonderful. So students, those are the 4 lines that contain a lot of action words about machines, the jobs that they can perform. So in the next video class, I will take you through the rest of the poem, and there are some interesting ideas to come up in the next part of the poem. This is a simple poem, has some interesting ideas. However, you need to keep in mind a lot of things, the words, the vocabulary that you see there. So many action words, so many adjectives. So there is a lot of things to take care of, to deal with in this poem, although it's a pretty simple poem to understand. Okay, so with that, let's conclude today's video class, and I'll see you next time with the rest of the poem.